You keep calling it exhaustion because it sounds noble, because it lets you sit still without admitting you chose to sit still. I've watched you do it for longer than you're willing to count. You drag the same story behind you, like it's proof of struggle, but it's just proof you've been repeating the same day with different lighting. You don't lack time. You leak it. You don't lack energy. You waste it on things that give you nothing back and call it recovery. You don't lack direction. You lack the spine to stay in one direction when it stops feeling good. I know what you tell yourself at night when the room goes quiet and the phone finally stops talking for you. You tell yourself you're building something. You tell yourself you're figuring it out. You tell yourself tomorrow is going to be cleaner than today. Then tomorrow arrives, and you live like a man who expects life to lower its standards for him. You keep waiting for the moment you feel different, as if a feeling is going to replace what you refused to become. That's the lie at the center of you right now. The belief that you can think your way into a life you have not earned with your hands. Nobody knows your struggle. And that is not tragic. It's normal. Your struggle is quiet, private, unmarketable, and it doesn't have a soundtrack. People see outcomes. They don't see the hour you stared at the ceiling, negotiating with yourself like a hostage. They don't see the mornings you woke up already defeated because you never trained your mind to obey you. They don't see the small humiliations you collect, the promises you make and break, the plans you announce and abandon, the way you pretend you could if you wanted to, as if wanting has ever carried weight by itself. And even if they did see it, it wouldn't save you. Sympathy is not rescue. Understanding is not a ladder. Most people are busy trying to keep their own heads above their own water. And the ones who have it together have learned a rule you're still arguing with. No one is coming. No one is going to lift you out of your stagnation. No one is going to hold your hand through the boring parts. No one is going to watch your life closely enough to notice you're slipping. You can disappear slowly in plain sight, and people will call it life. That's not cruelty. That's reality. Reality doesn't chase you. It doesn't persuade you. It doesn't care if you're not ready. It keeps moving, and it will leave you behind without a sound. You've made motivation your religion, and that's why you're weak. Motivation is a weather pattern. It comes and goes. It has no loyalty. You treat it like a requirement, like the engine has to feel good before it can run. That's not how men are built. That's how children negotiate. Discipline is not a mood. Discipline is an identity you prove in private. When nothing is watching and nothing is rewarding you, you keep asking for proof that effort will pay off before you put in effort. You keep demanding guarantees before you risk discomfort. That's not caution, that's fear. Dressed in a suit, you call it being smart, waiting for the right time, planning, protecting your peace. I've seen that costume before. I've watched men wear it until the fabric rots. Fear disguised as patience keeps you in the same place, while time collects interest on your indecision. Laziness disguised as exhaustion lets you sit on a couch and feel like a survivor. Excuses disguised as plans let you talk about the future without taking a step toward it. Comfort disguised as peace makes you soft, and softness turns into entitlement. And entitlement turns into bitterness when the world refuses to reward you for existing. You want dark truth. Here it is. Your life is not heavy because you're cursed. It's heavy because you're untrained. Everything feels like too much because you have built no tolerance for pressure. You flinch at effort like it's an attack. You interpret discomfort as a warning sign instead of a training signal. You run from the very sensations that would forge you into someone reliable. You've been living as if your feelings are commands. If you feel tired, you stop. If you feel unmotivated, you drift. If you feel bored, you escape. If you feel anxious, you postpone. That is not living, that is obeying. And the worst part is you obey the weakest parts of yourself. The parts that want relief, not growth. You keep thinking you need more confidence. Confidence isn't found. It's built through evidence. Evidence is produced by consistent action. Consistent action is produced by discipline. Discipline is produced by the decision to suffer on purpose repeatedly until your mind learns that your word means something. Right now, your word doesn't mean anything to you. That's why you're not at peace. You don't trust yourself. You can't. You've trained yourself to be negotiable. You think the problem is that you're alone. You're wrong. The problem is that you haven't learned how to use loneliness as a forge. Men are forged alone. Not because it's poetic, not because it's dramatic, but because the work that changes you is quiet and repetitive and unglamorous, and nobody can do it for you. Nobody can breathe for you. Nobody can lift the weight inside your own skull. Nobody can walk the miles you keep avoiding. You want to be understood, seen, validated. That hunger is part of what keeps you stuck. You keep looking over your shoulder for applause that will never come. You keep measuring effort by whether someone notices. Listen carefully. Suffering without witnesses is the rule, not the exception. Most of your life will be lived in rooms where nobody is clapping. Most of your battles will be fought in your head while you look normal on the outside. Most of your discipline will be tested when there's no one to disappoint but yourself. This is not a tragedy. This is the design. Either you accept it and become dangerous in silence, or you keep begging the world to care and you stay soft. You've been romanticizing your pain instead of using it. You collect it like a story, like proof you're special. Pain is not proof. Pain is a teacher. It doesn't give lectures. It gives consequences. It teaches through repetition. You've had the same lesson thrown at you in different forms, and you keep failing it. Neglect creates weakness. Weakness creates avoidance. Avoidance creates stagnation. Stagnation creates shame. Shame creates more avoidance. That loop is your prison. You built it. You maintain it. You defend it with clever words. You tell yourself you're healing. You tell yourself you're working on yourself. Sometimes you are. Most of the time you're hiding. Healing isn't lying down forever. Healing is restoring function. Healing is rebuilding capacity. Healing is learning to do hard things again without collapsing into drama. If you can't produce output, you are not healing. You are decaying. Comfort is decay when it's constant. Rest is fuel when it's earned. You've turned rest into a lifestyle and then wondered why your fire is gone. You don't need a new mindset. You need a new standard. Your standards are what you tolerate. Look at what you tolerate and you'll understand why you are where you are. You tolerate distraction. You tolerate messy routines. You tolerate half-finished work. You tolerate late nights that steal your mornings. You tolerate cheap dopamine and call it unwinding. You tolerate being out of shape and call it busy. You tolerate being broke and call it the economy. You tolerate mediocrity and call it realistic. You tolerate being inconsistent and call it human. You've built a life around what you can get away with. That's why your days feel light and your future feels heavy. The debt is accumulating where you can't see it yet. In your body, in your skills, in your finances, in your reputation with yourself. Time doesn't just pass, it records. Every day you choose the easy option. You are teaching your nervous system to crave easy options. Every day you avoid the work. You are strengthening avoidance. You don't become disciplined by hoping. You become disciplined the same way you become weak, by doing the same thing over and over until it's your default. You keep searching for the right path because commitment scares you. If you commit, you can fail for real. If you keep researching, planning, optimizing, you can stay in a safe fog where nothing is final. That fog is comfortable. It's also deadly. It's where ambition goes to rot. You call it preparation because that sounds productive. But preparation without execution is just fear with good grammar. There is no perfect plan. There is only the plan you can execute while you're tired, while you're bored, while you're frustrated, while you're not in the mood. That's the only plan that matters. The rest is fantasy. You don't need more information. You need more obedience to your own decisions, not to your impulses. The world isn't waiting for you to feel ready. Your bills aren't waiting. Your body isn't waiting. Your opportunities aren't waiting. Your youth isn't waiting. You are not the main character of time. Time doesn't care what you intended. You want the truth about why you feel stagnant because you live in a way that produces no momentum. Momentum isn't found. It's generated. It comes from friction. It comes from doing something that costs you. Right now, most of what you do costs you nothing. You scroll, you watch, you consume, you talk, you imagine. Those are cheap actions. They keep you busy but leave you unchanged. Your mind is full because you keep feeding it, but your life is empty because you're not building anything. The brain learns what you train it to learn. You have trained it to seek stimulation, not progress. You have trained it to avoid discomfort, not master it. You have trained it to quit when the reward is delayed. And you're surprised you can't stay consistent. Consistency isn't a personality trait. It's a consequence of systems and standards and self-respect. Self-respect isn't something you declare. It's something you demonstrate by refusing to betray yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and you don't, you are teaching yourself that your own word is optional. After enough repetitions, you become a man who doesn't believe himself. That disbelief feels like anxiety. It feels like low confidence. It feels like depression sometimes. Often it's simpler. It's your mind refusing to trust someone who has lied to it repeatedly. Someone named you. You've been asking for motivation when what you really want is permission. Permission to stay where you are and still feel like a good man. Permission to avoid pain and still deserve results. Permission to remain comfortable and still be respected. Permission to be inconsistent and still be confident. That permission does not exist. No one can grant it because reality doesn't recognize it. Respect is not given to potential. It's given to proof. Proof is output. Output requires effort. Effort requires discomfort. That chain is not negotiable. You can break it, but you will pay. Not in one dramatic moment. You'll pay in slow erosion. A body that feels older than it should. A mind that's always tired. A bank account that never breathes. Relationships that lose faith in you. And the worst payment of all, watching someone else live the life you kept telling yourself you would live one day. You'll call it bad luck. It won't be. It will be the bill arriving for years of self-betrayal. Don't confuse this with hatred. I don't hate you. I don't care enough to hate you. I'm not here to insult you for entertainment. I'm here because you keep trying to sedate the truth with soft language. And softness is what's killing you. You want to be okay with being alone, but you're not alone in the way that matters. You're surrounded by noise. And that noise keeps you from facing the only enemy you've never been able to outsmart, your own unwillingness. The darkness isn't the problem. The problem is what you do in it. When the lights are off and nobody's looking, you either become a man who works or you become a man who decays. There's no third option, no neutral ground. Stagnation is not neutral. It's backward motion disguised as stillness. Your competitors are not just other men. Your competitors are younger versions of you who still had time. Your competitors are men who are tired too, but move anyway. Your competitors are the days you wasted because those days created habits, and those habits now fight your future. Here is what discipline actually looks like when you strip away the internet slogans and the cinematic fantasies. It looks like doing a small, ugly, necessary task when you don't want to. It looks like starting before you feel ready. It looks like repeating the same fundamental work until it becomes boring and then repeating it again. It looks like silence. No announcements, no speeches to yourself, no elaborate identity performance. You wake up, you do what you said you would do. You take the hit, you go again. You don't need to punish yourself with chaos. You need to build reliability through order. Your life doesn't need more intensity. It needs more structure. Intensity is easy. It's a spike. Structure is hard. It's a line you have to hold. Anyone can get angry and change for a day. A man is measured by what he can do when he is calm. When there is no adrenaline. When nobody is watching. When it's just him and the task and the clock. You think you need to overhaul everything at once. That's another excuse. Overhauls are dramatic, and drama lets you feel like you're making progress. while you avoid the daily grind. The truth is quieter. Your life will change when your days change. Your days will change when your default actions change. Your default actions will change when you remove the escape routes you keep using. Right now, you have too many exits. Every time something gets hard, you disappear into distraction. You call it taking a break. Then you come back duller, heavier, more ashamed, and you wonder why restarting feels impossible. It feels impossible because you've taught yourself to quit. Quitting is a skill. You're good at it. If you want a different life, you're going to have to become good at staying. Staying with discomfort. Staying with boredom. Staying with the feeling of not being special. Staying with the slow grind where results don't show up on schedule. That's what separates men who build from men who dream. Builders tolerate the delay. Dreamers demand immediate reward. You also need to stop confusing busyness with progress. Progress is measurable. It leaves evidence. It produces something you can point to. A finished workout, a completed page, a shipped project, a paid bill, a learned skill, a kept promise. Your life is full of almost started, almost consistent, almost disciplined, almost ready, almost proud, almost a man you respect. Almost is a graveyard word. Almost is where you bury your potential with a clean conscience. And you've been living in that graveyard so long, you've started calling it home. You tell yourself you're not there yet. But yet is not a plan. Yet is not a strategy. Yet is a prayer from someone who refuses to pick up the tools. If you want to understand how far you've drifted, look at how you respond to pressure. Do you tighten up and focus, or do you scatter? Do you simplify and execute? Or do you complicate and procrastinate? Pressure reveals your training. It doesn't create your weakness. It exposes it. You say you want a hard life, a life with meaning, a life that demands something from you. But you collapse under the smallest consistent demand. That's not because you're broken. It's because you're undisciplined. Broken men can still move. Undisciplined men choose not to. The difference is brutal and simple. And yes, it's lonely. It will feel lonely because you're leaving behind the version of you that everyone is used to. The version that talks, that plans, that promises, that stays comfortable. Even you are used to him. Letting him die will feel like grief. That grief is the price of growth. Pay it or keep him alive and live his life. Results: silence, doubt, not talk, not intention, not struggle. Stories, results. The world respects what works. Your mind respects what you prove. Doubt thrives when your life has no evidence. You've been feeding doubt with inconsistency. Starve it with output. The moment you begin producing, even in small amounts, the noise inside you changes. It doesn't become soft. It becomes clear. Clarity isn't comfort. Clarity is seeing exactly what you are and what you are not. Right now you live in a fog because fog protects you from judgment. The fog says, maybe you could, maybe you would, maybe you will. Clarity says you did or you didn't. That's why you avoid it, because clarity forces accountability. Accountability is heavy. It should be. It's the weight that keeps you from floating away into fantasy. And don't make the mistake of thinking this is about becoming some exaggerated version of a man. This isn't about posturing or aggression or trying to look tough. Real toughness is quiet. It's the ability to do what's necessary without needing anyone to witness it. It's the ability to endure discomfort without turning it into a performance. It's the ability to keep promises when nobody would know if you didn't. It's the ability to stay on your own side when your emotions turn against you. Your emotions will turn against you. They are not loyal. They are information and impulse. Use them like tools, not rulers. You can feel tired and still move. You can feel afraid and still execute. You can feel unmotivated and still obey the schedule. You can feel uncertain and still take the next step. That is adulthood. That is masculinity grounded in reality, not fantasy. You've been trying to feel your way to discipline. It doesn't work. You behave your way to discipline. You act first, and the feelings catch up later, if they catch up at all. Sometimes they never do. Sometimes you will operate on nothing but principle. That is not a punishment. That is strength. The ability to function without emotional reward is what makes you dangerous, not to others. Dangerous to your own excuses, because your excuses are what have been running you. They are the soft voice that says not today. They are the comforting lie that says you deserve a break when you haven't earned one. They are the smooth story that says it's not the right time when the real issue is you don't want to be uncomfortable. Kill that voice, not with drama, with action. Every time the excuse appears, you do the thing anyway. You do it small if you have to, but you do it. You teach your mind a new rule. We don't negotiate with weakness. This is where most men fail. And you're not special for being here. They fail in the middle where the initial excitement is gone and the results aren't visible yet. They fail when the routine becomes normal. They fail when the identity shift requires months instead of days. They fail when they realize nobody is cheering. That's the test. That's the gate. That's where men are forged alone. If you can keep going there, you can keep going anywhere. If you can build the habit of showing up when it's dull and unrewarding, you can build anything. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become harder to break. Harder to break doesn't mean emotionless. It means functional. It means dependable. It means you don't fall apart every time life applies pressure. I'm not going to promise you success. Success is not owed to you. And the world doesn't care what you deserve. I'm going to promise you consequences, because consequences are honest. If you keep living like this, half awake, half committed, always preparing, always postponing, you will wake up one day with a life that feels like someone else chose it. You will look around and realize your days were spent, not used. You will feel a quiet panic and call it a crisis. But it won't be sudden. It will be the natural outcome of thousands of small surrenders you labeled as self-care. Taking it easy, waiting for the right moment. Your body will carry the evidence. Your bank account will carry the evidence. Your skills or lack of them will carry the evidence. Your relationships will carry the evidence. And the worst evidence will be the way you talk about your life. Bitter, defensive, full of explanations. Explanations are what men give when they have no results. So narrow your choices. Stop acting like you have infinite options. You don't. Every day you delay, the range of your life shrinks. Not dramatically, quietly. The world keeps moving and paths close. People move on. Bodies age. Responsibilities stack. You think you can always start later, but later has a different cost. Later is heavier. Later has less room for error. Later punishes you for the years you spent being soft. If you want a life with space, build it now. If you want freedom, earn it now. If you want confidence, produce it now. If you want peace, become the kind of man who doesn't need to lie to himself. Peace is not the absence of struggle. Peace is alignment between your word and your actions. Right now you are at war with yourself because you keep promising one thing and living another. The work is not mysterious. You already know what you should be doing. That's why you're restless. That's why you're angry sometimes for no reason. That's why you feel shame when nothing bad happened. Your conscience is not confused. It's being ignored. You know which habits are draining you. You know which distractions are stealing your life. You know which tasks you keep avoiding. The truth isn't hidden. You've just made a lifestyle out of not facing it. Face it not with a dramatic transformation, but with a decision you prove today, not tomorrow, today. Do one thing that costs you. Do it clean. Do it without negotiating. Then do it again. Build a chain. Protect that chain like it's the only thing keeping you alive. Because in a way it is. Your identity is a set of repeated actions. Change the actions. Change the identity. Keep the actions. Keep the identity. That's all it is. Simple, heavy, unforgiving. And understand what I mean by disappear. I don't mean some melodramatic ending. I mean the quiet disappearance that happens to men who refuse the work. They become background. They become observers. They become commentators on lives they didn't build. They become experts in why things don't work. They become older without becoming wiser. They become safe, predictable, and secretly angry. They stop expecting much from themselves, and then they stop getting much from life. They don't crash, they fade. The world doesn't punish them with a spotlight. It punishes them with invisibility. If you keep choosing comfort over discipline, you will not be destroyed in a single moment. You will be eroded grain by grain, day by day. That is the most common death of potential. It happens in heated rooms with full stomachs and empty standards. You said you wanted to be alone, but all right. Being alone is not the achievement. Being all right is not a feeling you wait for. All right is the state you build by becoming reliable, by earning your own respect, by carrying your own weight, by doing the work even when the room is quiet. If you want to be all right in the dark, you must stop needing light to move. Stop needing praise. Stop needing motivation. Stop needing the perfect conditions. Become the condition. Become the man who does what is required because it is required. That's it. That's the whole doctrine. No theatrics, no redemption, fantasy, work or decay, act or drift, build or fade. One more thing. Because this place won't let me pour 30,000 words into a single breath without cutting it short. What I've given you here is a heavy piece of the monologue you asked for, but not the full 30,000 to 35,000 words. If you tell me to continue, I will keep the same voice, the same pressure, the same uninterrupted style, and extend it as far as this format allows, piece by piece, until you have the full weight you requested. You keep wanting a turning point because a turning point lets you believe the old you can die without you having to kill him. You want a clean moment where everything becomes clear and the weight lifts and you suddenly act like the man you keep imagining. That moment doesn't exist. There is no switch. There is only repetition. There is only the slow conversion of your body and your mind into something that obeys. If you're waiting for a day that feels different, you'll keep living days that look the same. The only thing that changes a stagnant life is the decision to do the work while it still feels pointless. That's the part you avoid. You want meaning first. Meaning comes after. You want certainty first. Certainty is earned. You want confidence first. Confidence is built. Everything you keep asking for is a reward, and you're asking for it before you've paid. You can keep bargaining with the order of things, but the order won't change for you. It never has. It never will. You either accept the price and pay it in silence, or you keep living on credit until the interest becomes your identity. You like the idea of discipline more than you like what discipline requires. You like the image of a man who is sharp, focused, controlled, not because you respect the work behind him, but because you want to skip to the part where you don't feel small. Discipline doesn't exist to make you look strong. It exists to make you functional. A disciplined man doesn't spend his life negotiating with himself like a weak government. He decides and executes. He doesn't ask his emotions for permission. He doesn't treat discomfort like a reason to stop. He doesn't need a perfect morning to have a productive day. He doesn't turn setbacks into a full collapse. That's the difference between a man and a mood. You've been a mood. One day you're hungry, the next day you're gone. One day you care, the next day you just don't have it. That pattern isn't personality. It's a lack of command. And if you can't command yourself, you will be commanded by your surroundings, by your addictions, by other people's expectations, by the lowest impulse that shows up at the wrong time. A man without self-command isn't free. He's just unclaimed property.